Welcome back, YouTube. This is Matt with just another drop in the bucket, and we are at another Feather and Inkwell review. Today's is the Asvine C80. Yes, another Asvine release. They've been quite busy. We've had the recent 930 release, we had the J16 that I reviewed recently, and that is one of my favorite pens of the year due to its versatility, its strength, and its resilience to handle harsh environment. And today we come to the C80, which is the next number 8 nib. So it's not a number 6, it's the larger number 8, but not the ginormous number 9. And that brings the scaling of the pen factor in body and size back down to normal sizes that normal people with slightly larger hands and even normal size hands can comfortably hold and write with over a length of time. So, what makes the Asvine 80 so good? So let's start with one of the number one reasons why people love the C80. It is another acrylic pen. This is two things here that we all enjoy. So this is the galaxy finish that many people know and love from Inquiring Minds. I love it too. With a little bit of extra light, you can appreciate some of its chatoyance that he loves and mentions all the time. Now, in particular, his video, he had a little bit brighter colored one, but they ran out of my medium nib for me to buy it in. And I refuse to buy anything that's a medium or smaller in writing with anymore. I just love the mediums, guys. I don't know what to say. Anyhow, right now I do have it filled up with this new ink as well, and we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Right now, let's talk about the C80. It is a stainless steel nib, it is postable, and it is absolutely feather light in the hand. So let's remove a few things and let's get down to the C80. So to start with, like I said, it has a magnificent number 8, which is very smooth and quite flowy on the page. Now, this number 8 nib, it's not that tall, but it is rather tall. If you are used to shorter pens and nibs, this will be a little uncomfortable for you. But if you have written with one of the Asvine number 8 nibs, you'll be well aware of where it's going to put your hand and your wrist and how that's going to feel. Let's talk about its weight. It is an acrylic pen, which means it also has a piston converter inside, which is great for cleaning. It makes it really easy to clean. You could probably make this what do you call it, like a fill-up pen where you fill up the entire body and have a ginormous ink capacity. So you could do that if you took out the converter, and that would be something. I typically don't do it because I like to have very clean pens, and then you won't have a clean pen ever if you do that. Let's talk about the weight. Weighing this fully inked was at 25.5, and that is capped. Capped weight 25.5 grams, fully inked and capped. Uncapped, still fully inked. Everything else in it, 18.5 grams. That is feather light, guys. Feather light. You will barely feel it in your hands. Length, capped. So sitting in a pocket, something like that, we're talking about a grand total of 6 inches. Uncapped, we are looking at 5.5 inches. So I mentioned before on the J16, its uncapped 2-tip length was approximately 5 3/4. This is 5.5, so it is about a quarter inch shorter, and that could be because it doesn't have the piston knob on the end. Again, it does have a longer nib, so it's not the nib length, guys. You could see there, it has a fairly good size, about the same size, really, grip section. The threads are absolutely smooth if you ever lay your hand on them. The step up to the body is very small. You really won't notice it very much. And considering it's already super feather light, there's nothing to dislike about this pen. Because it is an acrylic pen, I also started to come up with a new something to measure, which would be its girth. It is a 1/2 inch length in girth. Is that comparable? It probably is to other pens such as these right here. I'm going to pull these into view here for a second. I'm not going to give you other measurements on them right away, But these are other very similar length girthed pens, etc. You have the Bennu Dragon's Blood, which was the last good pen of that year. We also have the Christmas Navaler Nautilus, and it is absolutely superior. I got it in a double broad and it flows absolutely beautifully. Both of those are similar in girth. They're around the half-inch length mark. I haven't personally measured every one of my pen's girths yet. I felt like that was a little bit excessive. But to be precise with the pen reviewing, it does have that half-inch. Now, that is a plastic feed on the bottom, as almost every pen these days is plastic. With only a few that release anymore with the non-plastic. I will let you know if I buy such a thing. Other notes to point, this is a cigar-shaped pen, so meaning it is rounded to not quite a point, but rounded on each side like a cigar. This is one of only 2 or 3 pens that I have of this shape. It does have a cap. The cap rotates off in 2.5 turns roughly. The grip, like I said, the threads are very smooth. The acrylic, very chatoyant. It is rather darker. If you don't have excessive lighting on it, it is hard to make out the galaxy swirls in it. But that just adds a depth. And I do feel like I still love it, despite how dark it is on a normal desk. It is comfy but large in the grip. And I'll show you my writing sample here, and then we'll get to the ink that I paired it with. Now, I will say this to start with. I expected the ink to actually be a little bit bluer, but you know, the bottle picture isn't always that perfect. Now, this is the ink that I paired it with, which is Van Diemen's Explorer Series Marco Polo. It is somewhat of a lighter green, not quite blue. I'll call it aqua. Again, it's not quite blue, it's a lighter green. It's not emerald. It's in there somewhere. Don't know how else to call it. The bottle has a little bit of a bulbous shape. You can see it there in profile. So it starts off like a normal bottle. It kind of bulges out the front like a fat man. And it has a nice sized cap, meaning the throat in it is very nice sized. You can fit about any pen you want in there. Depth, this is, you know, it's a pretty good depth bottle. You could probably fit a number 8 nib in there, as I believe I used this very bottle to fill the pen with. I didn't have to use any extra accessories to fill. I was able to dip the pen straight in despite having that number 8 nib. Sorry for the shaking, guys. A little bit cramped at the moment. Back into the pen here. So Van Diemen's Marco Polo Explorer Series. Now this ink is, I've only seen it one place so far, one. I haven't really looked for it elsewhere, but this was, I'm trying to remember the store name. I was at a show, I was at the Miami Pen Show, break time with pens and ink. I'll post it in the video. Needless to say, he was the only one I've ever seen that has this brand. He does say it's an Australian branded ink. That's very interesting. I've never seen Australia make an ink before. I wanted to try it out. I don't regret it so far. The ink comes out pretty good. You could see writing on my favorite paper, it has an applicable amount of ink that comes out. And this is also a factor of the pen I was using, the C80. The C80 does put out enough ink to provide a decent smear test. The ink itself is also not very fast drying. It's pretty much equivalent to any other flat ink. They all are flat inks. They don't have any shimmer or sheen, but they do have a lot of color to them. I love it. So overall, how do I feel about the C80? It's magnificent number 8 size nib, along with this particular ink. The ink flows well. It doesn't really clog up. It doesn't dry up as far as I noticed. I've only used it for a short period of time, as I only just got the C80 in the past week and a half or so. The ink, I think I've inked it in one other pen, and it also did not dry out in this period of time. But overall, I could say this pairing, while it isn't a perfect match in colors, I do still like it. The ink flows well, and the ink flows well out of the C80. Between it, do I recommend the C80? If you're looking for a converter pen with a acrylic that you're already well acquainted with, and you're able to get the nib that you like, that was the key here. The nib options were limited, and currently the C80 is sold out. You'll have to wait for it to come back. I don't know when that will be. It's very popular, and usually they do re-release a lot of these pens fairly quick. So be looking for the one you want if you did not grab the first batch, and tell me if you already have it. What color did you get it in? What nib did you get in? And what ink did you pair it with? Have a good day.